Leadership is influence. Leadership expert John C. Maxwell states it best when he says, "Leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less." Everyone has some level of influence, which is why he points out that everyone is a leader. And you know what? I agree. Leadership influence is the ability a person possesses to change values, beliefs, or attitudes about a topic. Someone who has leadership influence can understand what motivates people and activates an urgency within them to create change. Again, Maxwell tells us, true leadership cannot be awarded, appointed, or assigned. It comes only from influence, and that cannot be mandated. It must be earned. The only thing a title can buy is a little time, either to increase your level of influence or to undermine it. Think about it. How many people in a leadership role have you known who could not develop the trust necessary to lead, and it undermined their ability to lead? Thinking a little more deeply about this, there is a nuance that is important to consider between leadership influence and leadership as influence. Let's explore this for a moment. Leadership influence is the action a leader takes when seeking change or striving to have a team achieve goals. Remember, everyone has some level of influence, so the act of influencing can come from something other than a formal title or formal authority. Influence can come through relationships, organizational knowledge, or expertise. Relationships are a powerful tool for influencing others. The deeper we develop personal and professional relationships within our teams and beyond, the more influence we will have in driving change regardless of our role. Understanding the relationships in your world of work is an important step towards being more effective, and building these relationships leads to trust and leadership. Having organizational knowledge is another way to influence others. This knowledge comes from experience and time in the organization, and it is earned when we exercise the knowledge for the good of the organization and the team. Since organizational knowledge can be difficult to transfer, those who have it are valued for bringing a deeper understanding of the culture of the organization. Finally, expertise, somewhat like organizational knowledge, is authoritative knowledge in a particular area or function. Organizational knowledge is broad, while expertise suggests a more specific level of knowledge. Experts certainly have influence, but what makes an expert? Experts are those on the team who have competence, knowledge, and skill acquired through education, experience, and practice. But in its simplest way, experts are those that are perceived as experts, and sometimes that's all it takes. Now, leadership as influence is the capacity to affect change. It is less about any specific action or individual leader and more about the inherent belief that leadership drives change. Of course, leadership is not some esoteric idea that can be practiced without people, but as a concept, leadership is an attitude as much as a skill. When others believe that leadership is an effective tool for change, then they will believe in the person who is exercising the leadership. For influence to exist, we must have leadership and effective leaders. But that's enough about the nuanced thinking on leadership and influence. Let's explore more deeply the idea that leadership is influence and that it is best achieved through trust, motivation, and engagement. Let's start with trust. In your leadership journey, have you ever had an opportunity to participate in a trust fall? A trust fall is when you stand on a chair or some slightly raised platform, cross your arms over your chest, and blindly fall into the arms of people waiting for you. I've done this many times, and it certainly takes a level of trust to believe that the people will catch you. and they always do. The trust fall is analogous to the trust we must practice every day in our organizations and on our teams. We want to believe, maybe must believe, that others will have our back and support us if we fail. We must rely on others in everything we do, and this requires that we trust them to do their job, and they must trust us to do ours. Extend this to leadership, and trust becomes even more important. Trust as a concept of leadership is interesting because it requires faith. We must have faith that others are working as hard as we are to ensure organizational and team success, and doing so in a manner that is consistent with our values. In fact, I have heard it said that trust is at the core of our core values. But if you read the headlines that pop up in your news feed on a daily basis, you can see that we live in a time where distrust seems to be the default. That is why fostering high trust teams has never been so important, and it starts with leadership. Let's explore three skills leaders can employ to foster trust. Listen with respect, promote transparency, and remove the fear of failure. Listen with respect. Trust grows when others feel their ideas and concerns are heard fully and completely. Listening is more important than speaking for effective communication and building trust. Make sure that you give others a chance to talk. It will show that you care if you genuinely listen. Signs of listening with respect include looking people in the eye as they talk, asking questions, and making time to be available for others. Even in a world of limitless, instantaneous global communication, the most powerful mode of communication is when two people are listening. Promote transparency. Relevant information needs to be shared in a timely manner with everyone. If you explain what you are doing and why you're doing it, most people will be willing and able to understand, and they will be willing to trust and follow you. Sharing more versus less can pay huge dividends in building trust, but a transparent leader carefully balances between being honest and oversharing. Finally, remove fear of failure. Leaders who pause and imagine how employees feel build a lot of trust. A great way to cultivate trust is by encouraging the team to take well-thought-out risks. Helping your team be productive and not be afraid to fail can be accomplished by learning from mistakes, embracing the gray areas, and focusing on what can be controlled. Removing the fear of failure opens the door for real success. Next is motivation. The American Psychological Association defines motivation as the impetus that gives purpose or direction to behavior and operates in humans at an unconscious or conscious level. I think motivation is the energy that leaders have in themselves or bring out in others to increase engagement and productivity. Leaders often rely on the few highly motivated individuals on their team to be the creative force of the team, while the less motivated are left behind. What leaders should be doing is properly managing the motivation within themselves and their team to realize the potential of everyone to be a part of the creative process. Motivation is critical for effective leadership, particularly as a tool for influencing others. Being motivated provides one with the ability to accomplish organizational goals, face challenges, and affect change. An ongoing concern of many leaders is why some people perform better than others. There can be many reasons for this, including aptitude, ability, or opportunity, but individual motivation can also play a part in performance. People are inherently motivated to some extent simply by being a part of the team. This could be intrinsic or extrinsic in nature, but motivation is present. The opportunity for the leader to help develop that motivation and channel it into a creative process that focuses on achieving personal and organizational goals. My thought is that motivation starts from within. I call this the motivation reserve, and it is something that can be tapped in everyone. It is the leader's role to tap into this motivation reserve and help the individual, team, and organization succeed. No discussion of motivation can be had without briefly exploring Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Abraham Maslow developed a hierarchy of 5 needs and suggests that people progress along this hierarchy from most basic to most fulfilling needs. And as they do so, one's motivation evolves from external to internal. As individuals move through the needs, it can be difficult to influence motivation since external rewards become less relevant and an internal drive for success becomes more important. Applying this to organizational and team performance, and it becomes important to recognize the individual need and provide opportunities for satisfaction of that need. The 5 needs are: 1, physiological needs such as food, shelter, and resources necessary to survive. 2, safety needs such as security and stability. 3, relationship needs such as socialization, affection, and friendship. 4, esteem needs such as adequacy, confidence, and recognition. And finally, 5, self-actualization, or the fulfillment of one's potential. Tapping the motivation reserve of the individuals on our team begins with ensuring that their organizational and sometimes personal, physiological, and safety needs are met, and then creating opportunities for developing relationships, satisfying esteem needs, and ultimately fulfilling one's potential. Let's explore how this might apply to a member of a team. Belonging is the need to feel part of the team and to know that one is contributing to the team. For example, Judy is a nurse in a critical care unit. She has worked in this unit for less than a year and is only now beginning to fully understand the intricacies of the job. She is at the belonging stage of the hierarchy as she develops confidence and better understands her contributions. Fulfilling the need for esteem can be a desire to be successful and achieve recognition. For Judy, this may take a few years, but as she gains more experience, it could be achieved with her becoming a nurse leader, a preceptor, or through other achievements. Finally, self-actualization is harder to define and certainly harder to achieve, but many people find the process of seeking it a benefit. But continuing our example and depending on her personal goals, Judy's fulfillment could culminate in her becoming a nurse manager. While this is a simple example, it provides an understanding of how one might follow a path towards self-actualization. Finally, let's explore engagement. Teammate engagement can best be thought of as a combination of one's commitment, passion, and motivation for the work they do in the organization they work for. Many organizations assess this on a regular basis to ensure that teammates are engaged and try to quickly respond to the challenges if they are not. It can be that important to accomplishing the mission of the organization. From a leadership perspective, it is important to connect with the team and seek to relate to them in a way that increases influence. When you can connect with people, you can begin to form relationships, and relationships are the basis for influence. While creating an engaging environment can be challenging, it's not impossible, particularly if there is intentionality behind the effort. One of the best ways to begin to develop engaged teammates is to allow them to be themselves. When teammates can perform as their authentic selves, they are more likely to embrace an entrepreneurial attitude and have more respect for the leader and the organization. This can be accomplished by being more aware of the strengths and talents of the team and providing opportunities for these strengths to shine. Avoid being too critical of what the teammate is doing wrong and focus on what they do well and how they contribute. Everyone wants to enjoy the work they do, so allow teammates to engage with the organization in ways that accomplish the mission, while also giving them the flexibility to navigate and explore how they can best contribute. Another great tool to create engaged teams is to be an empowering leader. Empowerment is what it sounds like, giving power to someone else, which means the leader must give up some power. It is impossible to truly know what teammates can do if we are constantly micromanaging or expecting them to perform tasks and make decisions like we do. Certainly there is a risk in empowerment, but the risk is worth the reward of a more engaged teammate who feels valued. But more than simply trusting the teammate by stepping back, we must also create opportunities that put the teammate in a position of influence. As I've stated previously, I believe that everyone is a leader and that everyone on the team leads from where they are. As such, everyone has influence. But make the effort to create space for teammates to have increased influence. By stepping back and letting them lead can send a strong signal of trust that leads to lasting engagement. Finally, true empowerment can only be achieved when leaders recognize the contributions of their team. A powerful way to do this is to share success with others and accept responsibility when things don't go as planned. This is not to suggest that we should not hold others accountable for their mistakes, but we should do so in a way that continues to build trust. Anne Mulcahy, the former chairperson and CEO of Xerox, stated it this way: employees who believe that management is concerned about them as a whole person, not just an employee, are more productive, more satisfied, more fulfilled. Satisfied employees mean satisfied customers, which leads to profitability. This is as true for her industry as it is in healthcare. Before we close the discussion on engagement, let's explore a little about the difference between engagement and satisfaction. When teammates are satisfied, they enjoy the work they do and enjoy going to work. But when teammates are engaged, they are committed to doing all they can to help the organization succeed. Simply fulfilling the terms of employment, such as compensation, workload, and other benefits, can be satisfactory for teammates, but it will not lead to engagement. The motivation to give everything to the job can only come from a culture that cares about the teammate. It's really as simple as this. Teammate satisfaction is about temporary happiness, but teammate engagement is about long-term feelings of purpose, belongingness, growth, and personal accomplishment. As we close this discussion on leadership as influence, let's consider what author Anike Chachukwu Ezekiel has to say about leadership influence. He states, leaders are influential because they live and inspire other people's future. As you consider your leadership roles and how you are influencing others, never forget that you are inspiring their future. For the leader who imparts a negative influence may impact one's future in unforeseen ways.